Hey there YouTube fam, have you ever felt like there's something that you wish you'd known sooner that could have made a significant difference in your life? Well, today I'm diving deep into a topic that's incredibly close to my heart. Depression. In this video I'm going to share with you the 5 game-changing insights about depression that I wish I had known sooner. And if you stick around, these insights could become a lifeline for anyone going through tough times, or potentially anyone that you know, that you love, that you could support. And they may just change your perspective on mental health forever. Hey guys, I'm Amrit Sandhu, and I'm an engineering PhD candidate turned into life, leadership and career coach. You could basically say I'm the life engineer. And having coached 260 people one-on-one intimately, most of them through year-long journeys, man, I know a thing or two about people achieving goals, outcomes, fulfillment, motivation. I've had the incredible privilege to speak on multiple continents now, pretty much every continent except Antarctica. And the Inspired Evolution podcast here on YouTube, we're over 300 episodes deep now. And every week a couple of episodes come out with incredible thought leaders, CEOs, Fortune 500 people, entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs. We've got quantum physicists, quantum biologists, the father of epigenetics, all sorts of people from all different walks of life, sages, shamans who've been on this podcast. And it's been a really intriguing journey. But today, without too much further ado, I really want to dive into a conversation that is really dear to my heart. It feels like a lifetime ago because of how much has changed since a lot of these tools that I've implemented in my life. But around a decade ago, maybe a little bit more, 12 years ago, I struggled with about 6 years of depression. So let's dive in deep to the 5 things that I wish I knew a lot sooner about depression. The very first thing is talk therapy, right? And this is incredibly, incredibly helpful. Talking it out. When I was struggling with depression, I sort of kept it close to my chest. I didn't even know that I had depression. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what was wrong. And one of the things I can say is when I finally spoke to started with my GP, then spoke to a psychologist, and eventually spoke to numerous counselors. It's an incredible gift to be able to talk it out with someone. Just talk therapy has been one of the most profound gifts for me being able to navigate depression. One of my favorite books on depression is Johann Hari's Lost Connections. And one of the key things, you'll notice connection is my highest value if you've watched the values video. If you haven't, we'll put a little link to it somewhere up here for you to go check out now. Connection is one of the things that just talking things out builds more connections back into your life. It is an absolute lifeline. So one of the things I wish I had known sooner was that there are so many talk therapy resources available to people, coaches, counselors, GPs, psychologists. Now, having done my mental health first aid training, one of the key things that people need to know, especially in the West, is if you are struggling with mental health issues and you feel like you're in a depressive episode, it's actually quite straightforward. Your sole responsibility is to get to the GP. Go to your local GP, have a conversation about your mood, about your state, and they'll prescribe you, in most instances, a mental health plan. And most governments are now supporting, 3 to 10 complimentary conversations with a psychologist after that meeting. But you do have to go see your GP first. So the opportunity is there for you, even if you're not yourself struggling with depression, but also you want to help someone with depression. That is your number one responsibility. That is frontline mental health aid management. Ultimately, I think the big thing about talk therapy that really helps is somehow this human experience blows me away, the mystery of it, but we're not the most self-aware beings. Like, my mother knows things about me that are completely blindsided to me. My partner knows things about me that I'm completely oblivious to. And sometimes she'll just say those things back to me and I'm like, actually, crap, that kind of hurts, but that's exactly who I am. Like, you've actually just called me out. I didn't realize I was like that, right? So somehow the human experience is meant to be a co-creation, a collective experience. And when you go to talk therapy, you talk things out. People can hear you, witness you, and sort of feed back sometimes. All it takes is them just feeding back information that you've already presented to them, to you to be able to hear yourself. And it promotes self-awareness in a really easy way, right? Take some time and energy, but it's a really easy way. It increases your self-awareness. And from that point, you'll be able to identify what's working and what's not working. And if you can't, potentially they've got enough experience to be able to highlight to you potentially what is and isn't working in a loving way. Depression is the opposite of expression, right? So one of the key things to recognize is that even in talk therapy, one of the things that's happening is you're finally expressing the emotion that's kind of trapped inside of you and all this stuff that you've been sort of packing down so that no one will know. One of my favorite metaphors, it's like having a massive beach ball and you're in the pool and you're just trying to hold it down and you're still going about your day trying to do all the things while you're in this pool, like holding down this beach ball. The pressure on the beach ball, it wants to pop up to the surface, right? But we keep depressing it. We keep pushing it down. Now, we've had some podcasts on this topic. Adam Rower talks about creativity, and fundamentally, and this is what I was saying to you in the intro, the Inspired Evolution podcast is one of my touchwood greatest expressions, if I can say that. And it is therefore part of what I can identify as my mental health strategy because I get to express myself fully. You'll notice people turn around and sometimes say, why do you even at the beginning of the podcast? It's not professional. You need to stop doing that. And I've thought about it and gone, I do want to be professional, but I also want to express myself fully because I kind of know just the importance of what a true expression, authentic expression means. It is literally an inoculation against depression. And what you will find is that the pressure that you put on keeping things down will only increase the longer you try to hold things down. Eventually, life wants you to be in a really good place, touch wood, is my humble belief. And it will continue to increase the friction, the pain points until boom, the bubble comes up. And now when that process of transformation, I can speak from my own experience, 12 years ago, man, that was completely uncomfortable. It was one of the worst times of my life. But it was one of the most incredible things that ever happened to me, right? It completely changed my entire trajectory. If I wasn't for that depressive episode and 6 years of going through that and learning all the things that I learned coming through on the other side of that, I would not be here doing this personal development work with you that I am here today. When you're feeling depressed, there's parts of you that you're suppressing, you're pushing down. I want to be this, but I'm not that. And I want to be able to live my most vital version of my life, like full of vitality. In there, giving you permission, giving you tools and guidance as a life coach to kind of go, hey, like it's possible and this is the roadmap. I've interviewed all these people, I've coached all these people, I've done it myself. This is how you can actually live life on your own terms and this is what it could look like, right? That journey is about you going from depressing your deepest desires, your deepest callings, your desire for the life that you really want to live, and allowing that to finally express. Now, it's a journey, which is why a lot of my coaching clients will go on 12-month journeys, right, to go through that process, to allow you to emerge, the true you to emerge. The third most important point, which is probably one of the earliest points that I actually realized, is this whole concept of the now, right? In the present moment, everything's all good. It always will be, right? In the present moment, you've got the abundance right now to be staring at a screen on probably a mobile device, which cost anywhere from $500 to $1,000. And you're consuming content which is here to enrich your life, right? If you probably look around, you're in a pretty good environment. There's probably a roof over your head. If not, you're in a pretty privileged sort of outdoor environment area. In the present moment, you will always find your problems dissipate. That's the whole point of the Power of Now, right? By old mate Eckhart Tolle. So in the present moment, nothing is wrong. What does that have to do with depression? So one of the key insights, one of the biggest takeaways you might get from this video is that actually depression is time spent in the past. So when you look to the past, that is when you're spending all your time in depression, right? So depressing thoughts are thoughts of the past generally. When your mind is spending more time in the past, it has a propensity for depression. I wish I could have, or I should have done this thing like that, or regrets, or I could have, or I should have, all that sort of, I could have done this, I should have done that, I wish that would have gone that way, I wish that hadn't happened, I wish that would have happened. Oh my God, you can already feel, as I'm saying all these things, the frequency of depression is entering because it's all past noise. And the reality is, you can't do anything about the past. It's done, yeah? Sure, you can go act on it, ask for forgiveness, give gratitude. Absolutely, those tools exist. If you find yourself with your thoughts going back to the past a lot, Notice that pattern of behavior. Again, this is where talk therapy can be helpful. If you don't identify it within yourself, someone might be able to identify it for you, right? And those thoughts are depressing thoughts. They're depressing you. What is the antidote? Again, mindfulness. Be here now, right? Coming back into the present moment. It's an exercise. It's a muscle that you actually have to contract. Your mind will naturally have a propensity to go backwards. Mine's does. Yeah, I know that about myself, which is why I'm an avid meditator, right? And I bring myself back to mindfulness. So the present moment is an antidote for depression because it brings you here now. Now, I'm not here to demonize past thinking and future thinking. It's massively important for how we evolved as a species. We learned from our mistakes. We planned for where we're going. I help people plan in coaching. I help people look back at their past and sort of unpick things where possible, right? Through regression therapy type sort of stuff. And then we sort of move our way forward into the future that we want to achieve as a coach, right? That's coaching 101. But ultimately, it's very useful to have that as a tool. Spend some time in the future, spend some time in the back. But the challenge arises when we struggle with depression or anxiety, we're spending more time in one state or the other. We rarely come back to ground zero, which is in the present moment. Yeah, and that's what good mental health looks like. You're able to be present as much as possible, and then you're able to flick into the future, to future forecast, and then come back. And then you're able to stay in the present moment as much as possible. Look back, oh, that didn't work out. What could I have learned from my experience? Actually, that is probably where I could have done something different, and then bring it back. Boom, you're back in the present moment, right? That's what good mental health looks like. Alrighty, and the fourth point and the fifth point are somewhat similar, right? So point 4 is sunshine. We are just meant to be connected to nature in some very fundamental ways, yeah? And a lot of people you'll notice that live like really far away from the equator have a lot of dark time. They're known to have depressive syndromes as a collective because they don't get enough sunlight, right? So one of the easiest hacks I wish I knew sooner was to just supplement vitamin D, right? If you don't get enough sun, my first invitation should totally be go get sunlight on your skin, right? Get bare-chested. Doesn't matter what you look like. Like, get out there, bare-chested, get some sun, at least 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day if you can. Sunshine actually helps you regulate your mood really, really, really well. This boils down into the next point, which is the neurotransmitters. It really helps with melatonin and serotonin, right? So if you can get sunlight, you're in a really good place. If you can't, here's a hack. Supplement vitamin D. You can start with something as simple as 1,000 IUs a day. Generally, the advice would be to go get a blood test first, see what your vitamin D levels are, and then supplementation would be anywhere from 1,000 IUs to could be up to 5,000 IUs a day. Have a look depending on where you live. If you're close to the equator, you're probably pretty blessed. Your summers are probably really humid though. But yeah, so there's a little bit of a hack. Vitamin D, sunlight, really important to maintain your mood and good mental health. And this bleeds into point number 5. One of the most incredible books I've read is called The Mood Cure. We've got a podcast with Julia Ross, the author of that book, in an episode here on The Inspired Evolution. We'll link that into the show notes at the end. And I want to do a whole nother video just on that to dive super deep on 4 key neurotransmitters that we have and the 4 key amino acids that speak to each of those neurotransmitters. But for the subject of this video, we'll just dive into the first one, which is serotonin, right? And you can actually work with your serotonin levels by supplementing the amino acid tryptophan, which also comes in a pill, 5-HTP. When reading Julia Ross's work, she basically went to the extent of saying SSRI inhibitors, right? Which are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, right? Perform as antidepressants because they're working on the serotonin pathway and they're effective 72% of the time. Most of them, like this was the research, right? And they found 5-HTP to be effective 67% of the time in a controlled study. That's only a 5% difference. And when you think about the amount of side effects that SSRIs have compared to amino acids, which are literally just really like for those of you that have been to the gym, they're just like powder and you just take them. And if you take too much, you just wee them out. Like it's really not that big a deal taking amino acids. 67% efficiency, the difference being 5%, like that is so little. So tryptophan, 5-HTP, really incredible supplements if you are going through depression. They can actually really help stabilize your mood. I have personally been supplementing tryptophan, GABA, a whole bunch of stuff. And again, I'll make a video on Julia Ross's mood cure. Obviously there's a podcast, but then there'll be a whole nother video that I pull out on my protocol that I'm on thanks to the mood cure with the amino acid therapy. And it's been absolutely game changing. So you can absolutely supplement nutritional therapy. This is what we were saying before about vitamin D, sunlight, right? You can absolutely supplement yourself with vitamins and minerals and amino acids to support your mental health, wellness, and state. Alrighty guys, and now I'm going to throw in a little bit of a bonus. This is for me just making sure that you guys are super clear that these were the things that I wish I knew earlier. Now, there are absolutely some people that are listening to this video that are struggling with depression, that have severe chemical imbalances, some severe traumas in their life. Again, talk therapy is really important. As I mentioned earlier, getting along to your GP should be your number one priority in that instance, right? That is where you can go get checked out. They'll refer you, they'll do your bloods, hopefully if they're a good GP, and they'll check your hormone levels, that sort of stuff, to sort of get an idea of, okay, are there any chemical imbalances in the body? And from there, a psychologist can do tests that go even further, right? So everything outside of the medical deep dive realm aside, these were the 5 things that I shared with you today that I wish I knew better. But that also doesn't mean that, there is not a camp of people that, actually need proper help and that have chemical imbalances and should not be taking SSRI and uptake inhibitors. Probably there are some people that should. Absolutely, there are times in your life where you might need those tools, but staying on them long term, it probably prompts a wider conversation. Again, bringing back to talk therapy as a conversation as to why you are actually on such an intense medication for so long. So again, this is a caveat. Absolutely, there are some people that are going to need that medication, but being on it for long term, I have my questions around it for you and ask you or invite you into questioning that as well. That doesn't mean just get off them. Again, everything should be consulted with a doctor as you approach it. But one of the biggest things I've learned as a life coach is that ultimately it's all about trying to spend as much time as you can, trying to be present, and then also being able to express yourself to the best of your ability, like the expression of your nervous system, your being, your mind, your words, your physicality, just everything that is you, being able to express that the richest way possible. That expression is an antidote to your depression, right? You being present is an antidote to you flicking back to the past and coming back into the present moment. I hope this helps. It's a topic that's really dear to my heart. Again, if you need someone to talk to, I am more than happy to have that chat with you. Actually, it's a big part of, like I said, why the Inspired Evolution exists. So there's a link to a discovery call with me, call it a strategy call, call it whatever you want. It's a complimentary call. You deep dive. We spend 45 minutes together. If we're fit for coaching, absolutely, we can have that conversation further as well, but maybe we're not. But maybe you just need one chat, lost connections, taking you back there. Maybe you just need a point of connection to have with someone, and, maybe that conversation is all you need and it can be a game changer for you. So I know you feel like, you're alone in this. It's one of the biggest feelings I remember. But honestly, the minute you sort of just crack open the door, let in a little bit of light, you'll be amazed at how much light there is. There is so many resources in the world helping people through this. 1 in 2 people are anxious and depressed. You are not alone. There are so many resources out there right now helping people in this space. I'm one of them. There's plenty of support out there, right? People want to genuinely help people that are struggling with that situation because they know for the most part that it's fixable and you don't have to suffer in silence or alone. Again, guys, thank you so much for making it all the way through the end of this video. Hopefully it helps you or someone you love or care or know about. As I mentioned, Julia Ross's episode on amino acid therapy is going to be right here for you to check out. And I will create another video for you guys going deeper into my protocol around amino acid therapy, nutritional therapy for different types of mood states beyond depression as well. As always, guys, really appreciate you all. Be inspired. Keep evolving.